An overnight bus ride put me in a small town right after dawn. I then took my sore body and tired mind to a charming little hotel. Fortunately, they had rooms available, so as usual, I cached my bags in the room and headed out for a walk through the town I had been looking forward to seeing, and a major destination for me, the ancient town of Hoi An. I was able to walk only a few blocks from my hotel to the old town. I had seen bits of Hoi An in film clips and in pictures on websites, but I wasn't sure what it would be like. Frankly, it surprised me. I walked down quiet, narrow streets, blocked off to motorized traffic. The yellow morning sun shone brightly upon the cobblestone sidewalks as I looked around at tile roofs and carved balustrades. The buildings were of two primary designs: old French colonial with masonry walls and multi-paned windows, or Chinese with paneled wooden walls, small courtyards, and delicate woodwork. The old town ran along a riverfront to an amazing 16th century Japanese bridge. The old houses, the woodwork, the tile roofs, and the dragon-flanked gateways gave me the question: what century was this from? I felt as if I had just stepped into the pages of a novel by Pearl S. Buck. But I hurried on to my first stop, what Hoi An is famous for. Tailors, of course. Not that one. I had done my research, and brought some pictures of suits I wanted. I stopped at one tailor, dropped off a few ideas, then went to another tailor, and then another. I had saved up for this, and the suits averaged about $150 a piece. But I think I may have overspent a bit. Oh well, once a suit is cut, it's too late to ask for your money back. Hoi An, as we know it, came into prominence as an important center for shipping and commerce during the late 1500s. Merchants from China and Japan settled here, and ships from all over the Far East, as well as Portugal and the Netherlands, sailed up the river to unload their cargoes. By the 1700s, the Chinese merchants considered Hoi An the best trading spot in all of Southeast Asia. However, when Emperor Zalong gave the French exclusive trading rights to the nearby port of Da Nang, the bustling center of Hoi An quickly faded into a backwater. In fact, I wasn't the only one who noticed the time capsule aura that Hoi An's buildings and streets projected. I saw a film crew shooting scenes for, well, a war film, naturally. But apparently the locals had seen this before, and took it in stride. In a way, though, the town's obscurity was a blessing, because a great number of the buildings and streets were largely preserved, and the old town retains much of its 18th century charm. That is, if you discount the souvenir shops, the tailors, the restaurants, and of course, the crowds of tourists. I had been living in Hanoi for a while, but by August I was in Saigon, on what's known as a visa run.
So if you come to Vietnam to live and you are working with a good company, they'll help you renew your visa for you, or they can get you a long-term visa. But if you're like me and you're not really well established, you have to go and renew your visa every 3 months so far. You can only get a certain number of 3-month renewals, and then you have to leave the country and re-enter. So until that changes, I will be leaving the country every several months to renew my visa. And that's what I'm doing today. I'm leaving for Phnom Penh. I will be taking the bus to Phnom Penh in about 20 minutes.
And 30 minutes later, I was on the bus, careening my way from the city of Saigon to the lovely, fertile rice fields of the Mekong Delta. After only a few hours, we were across the border and driving through the floodplain. And finally, we crossed the river itself. Late in the afternoon, I was in a tuk-tuk, headed down to my lodgings. Then after a quick stop, I went back through town, past the main market, and got my visa renewed at a motorcycle shop, oddly enough. I had still some time left in the afternoon, so I walked down to the riverfront to relax. And as I walked further along, I noticed a lot of amazing architecture, some of it classical Khmer in style, and some of it more the European colonial style. I also discovered an interesting custom here in Phnom Penh.
Now apparently they catch these birds and then you release them so you can feel good about yourself. But then they just go catch them all over again, so it's kind of a racket.
There's a large cluster of buildings that I found was in fact the palace. So the next day, I bought a ticket and entered the palace to look around. It had many things that palaces in Southeast Asia have. Wall paintings, some palace treasures, impressive architecture. After a few hours of looking around, I came to a few conclusions.
Well, it's a bit of a warm day, and it's a pretty interesting palace, but it's a lot like other palaces I've seen, like the one in Bangkok or in Java, the Karaatan at Yogyakarta. A lot of nice buildings, most of which you can't get into, and so you just kind of hang out in the open, barren courtyards and sweat. Anyways, I don't know if it was worth the $6, but if you're going to come to Phnom Penh, this is of course one of the places you have to visit, so give it a shot.
After this, however, a friend of mine from university connected me with her sister and a couple of her other friends. And they took me around to some places in the city that were a bit off the usual tourist track.
Classical Roman architecture in Phnom Penh. Slightly incongruous, but interesting nonetheless. Eh?
Well, not quite what I was expecting. The next day I wandered through the market, taking in the sights and the smells. Then I stumbled into a temple where they were performing some sort of special ceremony. One of the monks found me and showed me the inside of one of the temples.
It used to be a very old temple. It's kind of like the temples I used to see in Indonesia. You can see the tool marks on the stone.
However, the children didn't seem too impressed, and had better things to do. My time in Phnom Penh had been rather enjoyable. However, it was time for me to leave, so the next morning, I was back on my way to Saigon, and then from Saigon, on to Hanoi itself.
Well, here I am in front of the Saigon Opera House. I just got done with a 6-hour trip, and I have another 6-hour wait until my flight leaves at about 9:30. And after that, I'll get into Hanoi at about, at least Hanoi the city, at about 1 a.m. So it's going to be a long day.
I arrived in Hanoi early in the morning, and note to self, next time, work for a company that can help you get your visa done. Could save you a lot of time and expense. Lesson learned.
Hey, I should pay a tour and then get money for it.
Yeah,
You get $20 an hour, right?
Maybe, I don't know.
I get half and half.
That's
10.
a little ambitious.